law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate.
October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis, many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters, because it is also true far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed, children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why So many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it, because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Okay, y'all. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? We'll let Benny talk. Benny, you're muted. You're muted.
All right, here we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the game play out. This was the tactic what we'd been predicting all night. That Kamala Harris would take the prosecutorial, get under Donald Trump.
Hey, you see that it's can you hear me? I hate to say it, but I don't think so. It sounds rehearsed. All that is rehearsed. They totally rehearsed, but no, I don't agree with that. But I think Trump got that. But let's hear Benny. Hold on.
To President Trump. This is what they were going to plan on doing. This was the only way that Kamala Harris could try and rattle Trump, right? So what's going on now? Well, Donald Trump is, well, a guy was shot. I mean, right?
That don't sound rehearsed to you? Because it sound rehearsed. That they're in cahoots. That sound rehearsed to me. All those, the way that the moderator and the way Kamala Harris is doing it, it's rehearsed. I can clearly see it. A lot of people can clearly see that, man. That is straight rehearsed. All those questions were straight rehearsed. They rehearsed that. They had all these time to rehearse it, and they rehearsed it, and they pivoted those questions perfectly for her, but Trump is still killing her. Trump is still killing her. Yeah, it's obvious it's rehearsed, but yeah, that's rehearsed. They all goddamn rehearsed that thing. ABC and goddamn Kamala Harris rehearsed that to the TV. Come on, man. That is totally rehearsed. But Trump got this, man. He gonna win. Let me get back to Benny.
She's been the person in charge, not President Trump. That's too bad. I wish that wasn't the case. But Donald Trump is somebody who should be able to say with every single answer, why have you destroyed this place? The country's in shambles. You're at fault. Your party has had effectively unified control of the American government for the better part of the last 20 years. And so your response, you think this place is a shambles, like you're the person who created the fire. You're the arsonist. And now you're trying to LARP as a firefighter. This is something that I want to see President Trump do when he comes back from the break. Did Kamala achieve getting under President Trump's skin? Well, I've noticed a different tone with President Trump than was in the Joe Biden debate.
They did it. Bias AF. Yep, exactly. It's completely. So when do moderators debate the candidates? When a candidate can't stand up and debate anything. She obviously memorized a few lines.
Exactly.
And she's just going back to them over and over again. That she didn't even have to defend the whole thing about going down to the border. Didn't even talk about it. Why? Why didn't she have to defend about the border right now? Why did they just let that go?
Yeah.
Hey man, there's 10 or 12 million people here. But they asked Trump, well, how do you possibly get rid of them? At least he's gonna try. And that would have been an answer. Hey, listen, I may not be able to get all 10 or 12, 15 million of them, but at least I'm going to try. What is she gonna do? They don't even ask her.
Exactly.
And notice how light this entire thing has been on the economy. Very, very light on the economy. You know, they started talking about drilling and oil. She had nothing to say. They just moved on to the next question very quickly. So like I said, will this give credence to the nuts? Of course. Twitter, CNN, MSNBC are going to say she did fantastic. The bottom line is people who are looking for answers didn't get any from her. She was the one who had to tell people what she was going to do. She hasn't told anybody anything. Right. Everybody knows about the court cases. There's not probably a walking person on the planet that doesn't know that Trump was indicted 34 times, impeached twice, blah, 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 January 6th. We all know that. It's funny how she wants to move forward, but she keeps going back when it's in regards to Trump.
Exactly.
Because she can't talk about anything that people really care about. How are you going to make my groceries cheaper? How are you going to make my interest rates lower? How are you going to make gas prices lower? And these people, these two moderators, are staying away from it.
Exactly.
So be prepared tomorrow. They're going to say she did fantastic. But then talk to your friends and ask them afterwards, did you learn anything about her? I mean, yeah, she attacked Trump. Did she say anything that she was going to do?
Right.
And we're back. So let's see what they say.
War in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here,
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war? Yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin?
Thank you,
And would it be
Lisa.
any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
I'm glad you see it.
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise,
food prices are just too high. Kamala Harris's plan will bring costs down. Donald Trump, he'd impose what is effectively a national sales tax, a Trump tax that'll cost a typical family $3,900 a year. We need a president who fights for us.
Oh, this is bullshit, y'all. Hold on.
Dad bods deserve better teas.
I found this brand called True Classic. It's your one-stop shop for men's fitted.
Fuck.
And now, please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin. And she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times.
Rehearse that.
The reality is it has been about
Watch the trick,
standing as
y'all.
America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strong men instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military and fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your
Who cares
opponent?
about
I
this?
don't, and I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what she is. I don't care.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So I'm
I don't
asking.
know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
Trump killed that.
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we
Set up.
have someone who
It is a setup.
wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned land, he owned buildings.
Central Park 5.
And he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New
Here we
York
go, Central
Times
Park 5.
calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other.
What's up with the
I meet
time,
with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Notice the
Vice President
timing,
Harris,
y'all.
thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad that she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up,
I
Lindsay.
want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan
Word salad.
to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name
There's 3
calling.
months, 3
Let's
seconds,
turn
3
the
minutes left.
page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's turn
Trump,
back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
To defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
She
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
President
because
Trump,
no, the
President
former
Trump-
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry.
I
We're
just
gonna
need to
move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this is
multiple
now your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better.
Correct.
Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan? And can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president, and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it,
Vice
pass its
President
prologue
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made
of
a mistake. At number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years, but it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money, but she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump.
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
It didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable, but we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
I will hear.
Okay, so we've got closing statements coming up. The fact checkers are going to be busy, because these guys, David Muir and Lindsay, the host from ABC, did nothing against her. She was allowed to say whatever she wanted. She could say Project 25. I've talked about it already. I am completely positive that the only people who would take this as a positive for her are the nuts, because they were hoping that she would look somewhat presidential, but she didn't. I was waiting for what policy? What are you going to do against the border? Didn't hear anything. What are you going to do to lower gas prices? Didn't hear anything. What are you going to do to lower food prices? Didn't hear anything. How are you going to stop all these newcomers? Didn't hear anything. We basically sat through an hour and a half of the same old, same old. Nothing was spoken about. It would be better, instead of having moderators, from a news station, open it up and let people ask the question. Let people submit the questions and say, what are you going to do about my gas prices? Answer a damn question. Excuse me. And then when you don't answer, we can hit a button and go, you didn't answer the question. I am so sick of these debates.
As DA, Kamala Harris shielded illegal immigrant criminals from deportation. Instead of deporting one drug-dealing illegal, Kamala picked him for a jobs program, a job he couldn't legally hold, helping clear his criminal record. Kamala's hand-picked illegal then nearly killed a woman. It could have been prevented, but Kamala put her liberal values ahead of our safety.
My values have not changed.
That's what scares us. Kamala is dangerously liberal. Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Oh shit, really be about 4 or 5 questions and let them have at it. So what are you going to do about gas prices? And just shut up. Let them go back and forth. What are you going to do about newcomers? We didn't get a single answer from her as to what she wants to do with all these newcomers. Nothing. She didn't even mention it. They didn't talk about it with her. Trump said, yeah, I'm going to try and deport them all. I think we need to stop it. Leave me a comment. Tell me I'm wrong. Did she say that she was going to do anything about the border? Anything. Tell me one thing she said about the border. But they'll say she did great. I don't care. I really don't care. She said nothing. She did exactly what I expected. Everything I told you she was going to say. It was so predictable, both from the moderators and her answers. And then, they just let it go that way. So it's obvious at this point, and I'll pick it up after the debate, but it's obvious that they don't want to do anything about the border. When she said about the guns, she's on tape saying it as recently as last week, when the guy went into the school and shot it up, she said, we got to take away these guns. She said it. And then today she's like, oh, I never said it. Any fact checker from ABC want to talk about that? It's on tape. Oh, okay. Did they talk about these transformers? Did they talk about giving the transformers that were our newcomers and give money? Did they bring that up? Nope, didn't bring it up. So this was merely to feed her base. It didn't sway anybody on the right. Nope. And I'm wondering, are there what there is in the middle? If people actually care about their life, did they hear anything? And I don't think so. I don't think they heard anything. And I'm trying to be objective. And I'm like, you didn't talk about it. Right. You're leaving this debate wondering what she would do about the border. Right. She had every opportunity to talk about it. Nope, no solution whatsoever. That should be terrifying. People should bring that up over and over. Just, hey, what was your solution for the border? None. Nothing. Right. You're going to keep sending money to Zelensky. Yep, that's what we have to do. Okay. You catch it on here? It's the same old shit. Democrats want to keep funding these forever wars and just see where it goes. Just keep spending money. Better buy some gold. I'm telling you. They're about to come back on right now. Actually, it's past 90 minutes, so here we go.
For closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. but we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
Well, if people hung around to the end at 10:45, which I think they did. I mean, I'm looking at the drop off on my video, and it dropped off maybe 10%. So 90% of the people still heard that close. That close set it off. It was perfect. It was great that he was the last one speaking. She couldn't interrupt. She couldn't say anything. That was the last thing people will take leaving this debate. You spoke for 90 minutes about blah, 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 blah. And the only question anybody should have for her is, okay, why aren't you doing it now? And I love how he closed with that, because people are going to walk away from that thinking, Yeah, you're the vice president. You work hand in hand with Dementia Joe. Why aren't you doing it right now? You see, everybody likes to be the closer because that's the thing people remember. All the quirky stuff she said earlier and all the stuff that she said about January 2nd, he brought it all home into one question.
He did.
And tomorrow people are going to wake up and go, yeah, you are the vice president. Why aren't you doing it right flipping now? What is stopping you from closing the border? No answer. What is stopping you from drilling and making us energy independent? You could do it right now. Hey, Joe, we need to get this done. People need help. Nope, not doing it. So don't tell me what you're going to do in January when you can do it right now, or you could have done it for the last 3.5 years. You want a path forward. Well, you know what the easy change for you to do would be to tell Joe, hey, listen, we need to start changing things and do it a different way. But you're not. Why? Why do you want to do it in January? How can we believe you that you're going to do this in January when you won't do it now and haven't done it for 3.5 years? Perfect close. They could have made that entire debate right there. That last 2.5 minutes. Done. Don't tell me with, the violins playing all the great things you want to do for America. We care about people. And Trump just summed it up. If you ever watch Law and Order and you look at court summations, you got to bring it together. She was still talking about unicorns and fairies. He's like, do it. If I was president, I'd do it. Why aren't you doing it? And that's what people will have to remember. It was 90 minutes, maybe 100 minutes, went on a little bit longer than that. And people are going to forget all the funny stuff she said earlier, all the attacks that she made. The media is going to keep trying to play it up. But I'm telling you right now, people with a brain, with functioning frontal lobes are going to say, yeah, why aren't you doing it? That's all I need to know. That's all independents need to know. Answer that question. She can't answer it. In fact, Trump should have said that throughout the entire debate. Every time it got back to him, when they tossed it back to him, first thing I want to say is, I heard what she just said. I just want to know, why isn't she doing it now? And then go into his answer. Whoever prepped him should have had him ready for that. That would have been first and foremost in my mind every time I heard her say, when I'm president, I'm going to do this. And I would, as soon as they went, okay, Mr. Trump, all right, I only have one question. Why isn't she doing it now? Why is she not? I mean, he said it a couple of times. I hope people picked up on it. Why aren't you just going down to the office and talking to Dementia Joe and doing it? So the media can say all they want. It didn't change the race on the left, and it didn't change the race on the right. And I think the people in the middle, if they have working brains, are going to say, this didn't really do much. I'm not really into the infighting. I need to know about the issues. And if they sat back as adults and said, what are you doing about gas prices? Nothing. What are you going to do about grocery prices? Nothing. You notice capital gains really didn't come up. You notice that, right? They kind of avoided that whole subject. So obviously, since it didn't really come up much, there's no solution to it. What are you going to do about these newcomers? Nothing. So there's a whole lot of people who are going to walk away from this going, she didn't answer anything. And Trump has already told me, you may not like that he wants to deport anybody, but at least he's going to try. We got to get back to some degree of normalcy. Let's get all these people the hell out. Many of them will self-deport once they see people walking up and down the street, driving big old trucks, looking to pick people up. See, one of the things people don't realize when they say, how is Trump going to do this? Well, there has to be a database somewhere, because they're giving all these people EBT cards, and they're giving them this, and they're giving them that. How are these people getting those things? How are they getting the EBT card? It had to have been issued. Some of these people had to have been recorded as to where they live, where they're going, what town they're in. I don't think people realize there's a database somewhere where all these people, their last known residences. I don't know if they will say that Trump won. More than likely, they probably won't because they can't. But that's what I'm saying. The closing statement he just made closed it out. That was it. DD Spark says, yes, I agree with you. It's running very slow up here. There was a eureka moment when Trump said, why don't we just step out of this meeting? Yeah, people won't remember that. And go to the White House and sit down and talk and tell Joe to go get this stuff done. Close the border. Do it. Do it. What are we talking here for? We don't need to be talking. You want to do some stuff to save the country? Go do it. Absolutely. The Project 20, all that stuff. Project 2025, Central Park 5, find people. Just come on, man. That's all you got. That's. I know the left is salivating because they think, she stomped him, man. She got him. You go, girl. She didn't say anything for nearly 2 hours. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Shapiro, of all people, is lying about her performance. They have to. So here's what's going to happen. Let me just tell you what's going to happen now. I doubt there will be another debate unless it's on Fox. She's going to think she won. All of a sudden, in the next few days, you're going to see the polls change, showing her now she's rising because all of this is pre-planned.
Right.
They're going to make you see that, she actually came above this. She's going to get a bump. And if she doesn't, she's going to get the bump. But if she can't sustain that bump, I hope you know what's coming next. They're going to give her, right now it's September 10th. They'll give her till October 1st. They'll see how are the polls going to react. And she's going to go up over the next couple of days, and then she's going to come right back down. That's when they make their big move. That's when, in my estimation, Joe resigns and she becomes president. And because that's the only card they have left in their deck. That is the single card that they have yet to play, and they've been holding it. So she needs to see the bounce tomorrow over the next couple of days. Today is Tuesday. From now until Saturday, she needs to see the bounce. The problem with it, and here's a huge problem. This is college football time and NFL football time. So come Friday, maybe even Thursday, people ain't going to give a shit. They're right back to football and everything else. And then come next Monday, people have forgotten all about this. It's done. So she's going to have to see this bounce in the next 24 to 48 hours and then sustain that bounce through a football weekend into next week. And nothing better happen. There better not be any shenanigans with the terrorist attack tomorrow. Because you remember, tomorrow's September 11th. There can't be any. She has to have a perfect. Nothing can happen negatively in this country over the next 30 days. It's got to be perfect. Can't have any more newcomers killing people. Can't have them raping people. Every time that happens, she's going to take a hit. The economy got to stay up. Otherwise, she's going to get in trouble. That last card, and I'm telling you right now, just mark it down. That last card is, oh shit, she tanked. Let's go ahead and make her president and get the bounce. That's what they're going to do. I guarantee you, I swear, I guarantee you. They will tell Joe, we need to do something here. It's October 15th. And, oh, hey, man, we need to get an October surprise. That October surprise is going to be her being elevated to president. And then for 2 weeks, you won't hear anything about the first black president, first black woman president, the first woman president. She's this, she's that, she's the other thing. And there won't be any other news other than the fact that she got elevated to the presidency. And they're going to hope that brings her home. Guarantee you. Mark my words. So that being said, let me go ahead and this might be a long one here. I've got to. No, I don't have to. I love to talk to people about the donations that came in today. Like I said, Rebecca and Stacy won the trip they're from Winchester, Tennessee. We're going to do another one and do some other things as well. But let me go ahead and get to this because there's a whole bunch of you. Wow. So thank you very much. Thank you very, very, very much. All right. Let me bring this up on the screen so I can see. You guys are awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Here we go. So Angel Melendez, thank you. I've been talking to Dan. Mr. Martinez, thank you. Barry, do you think Timmy will be sitting next to her on stage? No. Del Hole, thank you. Said that U.S. products on Amazon cost more than China junk on AliExpress. Yeah, wish they'd bring that up in the media. No, they won't. Deanne Pro, thank you, Barry. Thank you. JC, thank you. Lucy O'Connor, thank you very, very much. Very much. Scott Davidson, if she comes out swinging, swing back. Yes. And he did. He didn't lay down. Buster 5, thank you. Jennifer Ness, thank you very much. Kevin Foreman, thank you. Buster 5, thank you. Kathleen Smith, thank you very much. Barry, we have to win. It's a must. Yeah. Bernie said it. Only thing she's doing is saying whatever she needs to say just to get elected. That's exactly what she did. Ernest, Kamala's plan is to destroy America with communism. We are very close to being Venezuela. Fun TV with Jane, thank you. Beth Wright twice, thank you. Lisa Burke, she's not laughing now. That must have been one of the times Trump hit her hard. Kamala is so fake, it's like a bad soap opera. Thank you, Joel. If Kamala wins, I'm leaving the country. I might be with you. Shira, thank you. Martell Prayer, thank you. Well, she's not doing as bad as you guys brag she would do. Told you guys to stop taking your opponent for granted. You heard what I said at the beginning. I knew she was set. This was an entire setup. So it wasn't me saying she was going to get squashed. Lisa Burke has no idea what she's talking about. Ruby Langdon. Rick Moore, let's be real. Most baby removals are just a form of birth control. Women not wanting to take responsibility. That's so true. Alt Rock Lover, thank you. Wish he would point out.
Okay, shout out to Barry, man. Barry always gives good commentaries. So things that I noticed about that debate, it was 3-on-1, like I said, and like I said before, it's rehearsed. It was rehearsed. It was obvious it was rehearsed. You could tell by the exchange between the male moderator and Kamala Harris. I could see right through it. But again, it's up to us, man. We know the policies. We know Kamala Harris. Now she has, I guess, policies up on her website, which is just a copy and paste of Joe Biden's policies. Again, I said a long time ago, why do we need a debate? But Trump wanted to debate, But the thing is, we still remember this. When we get up in the morning, reality is going to hit us. And we're going to, at the end of the day, we're going to think about two things. One, in Trump's closing, he said, why can't Kamala Harris do it now? All this stuff that she claims she can do it now. Do it right now. That's number one. Number two, everybody hit a one in the chat if y'all still in the chat. Number two, y'all live 4 years under Biden and 4 years under Trump. Let that be your deciding factor, because again, debates can be rigged, elections can be rigged. But we got. Don't worry about the rigged election. That was the last rigging that they did, and that was that rigged debate. That, like I said, that was rehearsed. And they kept her rehearsing all that time, memorizing, and they rehearsed together, like I said, with Kamala Harris and the moderator, mainly the male moderator. And so it was still 3 against 1, but the timing was off. Like I said, they let her go over the timing. They kept cutting Trump off. But like I said, we expected that. We expected that. But I thank y'all for coming out. Like I said, when we wake up tomorrow, remember what Trump said. All this stuff that she says she can do, why don't she do it? She had 3 years to do it. And number 2, you lived under 4 years under Biden and 4 years under Trump. And so that's not going to waver. I don't care now. Barry did say about, the polls going up. My thing is this. We know those polls are rigged too. What I suggest is y'all stick to Rasmussen. Stick to Rasmussen. And again, if the polls are going to go up, then the polls are going to go down. Now, he did say something. Barry says something very scary. They're saying that he's saying the October surprise, you're going to have Biden step down and Kamala Harris become president. That is the scariest shit ever. That is the scariest shit ever. But like I said, her becoming president is scary as is already scary in itself. But again, it's up to us at the end of the day. Now, if there are more stupid people out there, let me give a shout out to Ham Radio, because I let Ham rock out, gave him a wrench and everything. Ham, why did you call me a retard? Why'd you do that? See, that's what I mean by stupid people. Stupid people do stupid things. And so I had to ban Mr. Ham because he insulted me. It's like, dude, you can come in here and I give you a wrench and you can say you could vote for Kamala and, ooh, Trump lost the debate, and I let you have that. I was like, okay, cool. And then he's like, I'm going to vote for Kamala. Cool. I'm going to vote for Trump. Then he called me a retard. Now, come on. Everybody knows that I'm fair. I am fair as they come. But if you insult me, that is the number one rule. I want to say this before I close out and go to bed tonight. Do not insult me. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't insult me. Don't do that. Don't insult me. So again, we can agree to disagree. You can come on here and say, I'm going to vote for, whoever. You can say whoever lost the debate and this and that, but don't call me an idiot. Don't call me a retard. Don't do that, man. Don't even play like that. I'm too old to be playing. Don't play like that. Don't do that. Because I didn't call you out of your name, and I don't expect you to call me out of my name. Okay. So I don't want to turn this into that show. I do want to, like I said, do analysis on the debate. And like I said, the debate, it was rigged. It was rehearsed. It was rehearsed. And this was what they were supposed to do with Biden. But Biden is much older, but this is what they were supposed to do with Biden. They did with Kamala Harris. They hammered it into her, hammered it into it, and she memorized the stuff. But at the end of the day, we know she's not qualified. She's not qualified to run the country. And what they didn't talk about, like, nobody cares about the race. Nobody cares about the race thing, and they didn't catch up Trump with that shit. So that shit is out the door. Why would they waste their time? But the moderator gave her an alley-oop because they already had pre-planned that whole race thing. All those questions were pre-programmed for Kamala Harris to have an easy layup. That's what that was at the end of the day. I see right through it. Eventually, y'all will see right through it. If you don't see it, the rehearsals, the questions, if you didn't see it tonight, maybe you will see it. Maybe it'll hit you. But I'm from the streets, man. And I know, like I said, I know the plays. I know the plays and I know the setups. And that was a pure setup. That's why. But like I said, debates don't even matter. But Trump got to get it out of his system. But now at this point, it's up to us to carry him. We got to carry him to victory. So, we got to carry Trump to victory because we know what Trump's policies are. He talks about them. He talked about it in his debate. He talks about it constantly. A man who constantly stays on point with his policies is a man who is determined, who's going to, like, Kamala didn't give none of her policies tonight. She just gave these empty platitudes and, oh, I'm going to, and now she was pandering to the women. I'm going to buy car seats and all that, but no one was going to tell us how. Like, how do you plan to do that when all the money is going towards Ukraine? All the money and funding is going towards Ukraine. Trump talked about the tariffs on other countries, about NATO playing their fair share, and that money coming back to it. That's billions of dollars, you guys. That's billions of dollars. And then he talks about mass deportation, and that's another $1 billion. Here's $1 billion here. Here's $1 billion here. This $1 billion is going towards Ukraine, and this $1 billion is supplying all the migrants coming in. Trump said that he's going to end the money, have it come back to Ukraine. And notice they didn't ask goddamn Kamala Harris the same question about Ukraine. You got to peep. You got to peep game, y'all. But again, the money in Ukraine coming back to us, the migrants coming back to us. Once we deport the migrants, we will have no more money bleeding out, supporting the migrants, giving them food stamps, giving them housing, giving them cell phones, giving them all these resources that they're getting from our tax dollars, not from Kamala Harris, but from our tax dollars. When she talked about the baby cribs, I guess she plans on giving the migrants baby cribs from our tax dollars. At the end of the day, it still comes back to she has no policies. Either that or she wants to continue the failed policies of Mr. Joe Biden. And we know that how that's working. So like I said, but again, it goes back to the experience. It goes back to reality. The reality is you guys lived 4 years under Trump and 4 years under Biden. Kamala Harris is an extension of Biden. So with that being said, y'all, I got to get some sleep. But thank y'all for coming out, man. Like I said, I had to go on live because I wasn't going to even do a live tonight. But when I saw the trickery, I said, oh, wait a minute. And I caught it right away. And I had to go on and I had to tell y'all it was rehearsed. Trust me when I say this, y'all. It was rehearsed. And I'm not trying to sound like a sore loser. No, it was rehearsed. That's why I don't even count a win or a loss for this debate. I count this debate as Trump got it out of his system, and now they have a reason to push poll again in those fake polls, but keep an eye on Rasmussen. Keep an eye on Rasmussen. Keep an eye on Rasmussen. And if it does go up, Trump will still be in the margin of error, and Trump is still going to come down to Pennsylvania. Trump is still going to win Pennsylvania because people of Pennsylvania are not buying she wants to continue fracking. They're not buying that. They're not buying that. And so it's up to us in Georgia. It's up to us in Pennsylvania. It's up to us in all the swing states. Wisconsin, Milwaukee. It's up to us in goddamn Arizona, Nevada. What other swing states are there? We got North Carolina, South Carolina. I don't think those are swing states, but it's up to us because those policies are in the best interest of us at the end of the day. We don't, we got two types of people in this country: those who are with Trump, and if you're with Trump, you're with policies, and Trump's policies are for us. And then you got those who hate Trump. Because still after the debate, because people will reply, oh, Kamala won. Well, what policies did she mention? She still didn't mention any policies. Shout out to Barry, man. And shout out to all the people when all the smoke clears, we will say, and I'm calling it now, but I already know that my fellow Trump supporters are going to be like, but she didn't give any policies. And just like she didn't have no policies before the debate, she has no policies after the debate. Again, the policies on her website are copy and paste. copy and paste. And so it's up to us to carry Trump 2020 board of victory, man. Like I said, we're not here for, because what the debates are is a personality contest at the end of the day. And we're not voting for Kamala Harris' personality, Trump's personality. We are voting for the policies, the person who has the best policies, and that being Donald Trump. He has the best policies to end the war in Ukraine. He has the best policies to get lowered gas prices, drill baby drill. He has the best policies to get the migrants out that would also help our economy. Kamala didn't answer none of those questions when it dealt with those important factors. You knew the fix was in when he started talking about race. When he asked about race, Trump's like, man, I don't care. And for those of y'all that are concerned about policy, y'all care about policy first. Y'all don't give a damn if Kamala Harris is black or anything. We don't care. We don't care at the end of the day. Black people don't care. Black women don't care. Black men don't care. White men, white women, Hispanic, we don't care. What are you going to do for us at the end of the day? And this is why we got to get Trump in office, because Trump's policies deal with us directly. Trump didn't have to run for president. He could have been on the golf course. He didn't have to be indicted and all that. She wanted to damn talk about indictment. We know that that is a political persecution at the end of the day. But the thing is, the policies. Because I knew it was going to come down to this. I knew they weren't going to talk about policies. I knew they kind of hovered over the policies, but I knew at the end of the day that Kamala Harris wasn't going to come with any policies. She came with all these ad hominem attacks and kept trying to juke, and distract. And did she juke, and distract? She did, but ask yourself, how does that benefit us? Oh, the news media, they're going to be like, oh, Kamala Harris, you go girl, and she did that. And at the end of the day, her poking and juking at Trump and saying, oh, Trump and this and that, and he, oh, Trump and this and that. But at the end of the day, did she offer us any policies? No, because she doesn't care about us at the end of the day. The Democrats don't care about us. In fact, the Democrats don't care about Kennedy, one of the most well-known names in our country history. Kennedy, RFK, Kennedy. So Tulsi Gabbard, who was a veteran. There are more Democrats that have fled the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party has switched, has become an entity that is unrecognizable by the Democrats. And because they are unrecognizable by the Democrats, they need somebody to point at, and that would being Donald Trump. But again, okay, you could point at Donald Trump, this and that. Oh, Donald Trump is arrogant. She kept taking cheap shots about him being, property and all that. And again, you never talked about policy there, Kamala Harris. Where's your policy? You're not going to be able to fool people because people are going to catch on now. People get caught up. They get caught up in the debate. But at the end of the day, you look at the comments, I'm still voting for Trump because they still know policies is what matters at the end of the day. Putting on a good debate show is one thing, but dealing with reality and policies is another. Let me say it again. Y'all didn't hear me. Y'all press a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me, because I don't know if y'all heard me. Having a debate is one thing, and having policies is another. Having stern policies, and that's why this debate was not about policy. It was about, let's see, we can get Kamala to look good, and it's an ops game at the end of the day. But what does ops do for us? What does ops do for us? Again, so this is not a personality contest for Trump or Kamala Harris. This is about which of them have the better policies. And that is clearly Donald Trump. It's been Donald Trump. And this is why I have faith in the American people. I have faith in you guys that y'all will. I have faith in y'all because reality at the end of the day, grown people dealing with reality. Reality is stronger than the smoke and mirrors. Reality is stronger than the smoke and mirrors. And the reality says that we were better under Trump. If you don't know that we were better under Trump, then you have TDS. And I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm not trying to make fun. I'm not trying to, but no, if you cannot see your cost of living, you cannot see the gas, you cannot see the goddamn families that were killed over in Afghanistan, if you don't see the migrants, you don't see that they were like, oh, we got a fat chick. There was no dog eating. That's right, because they play the words, it was a cat that was eaten. The man walking with the geese down the street, that was, it's like the Haitians are eating cats and they're eating geese. Regardless of what their diet is, we are paying for them to have EBT, to have housing, to have all these things. And yet we have homeless people here in the US. We have people here with no jobs. A lot of y'all have children. I don't mean you have children. A lot of y'all have children who are trying to find jobs but can't, because when the migrants are taking your jobs, that lessens the chances of our sons and daughters of getting employable work, because we have so many people in here, so many people. And yeah, they are coming out of the same asylums. If y'all have seen that lady today, who now the lady, they had witnesses said that the lady was next to the cat, eating the cat, whatever, up in damn Michigan. And what I'm saying is that we don't need to be taxed for migrants to here to have children and take our jobs. So like we're funding our own competition to take away the jobs here in Americans for Americans by Americans, America first at the end of the day. So, all this fancy talk at the end of the day and all this, these fake poll numbers go up and all that stuff, like I said, it will go back down. It will go back down. But again, I'm looking at the poll number from Rasmussen. But at the end of the day, we can't be discouraged, because the name of the game, why they show this debate and they show the fake polls and they show the fake stream media, is to discourage everyone in the chat. And when the discouragement doesn't work, because they got trolls out here that are still hired by Kamala Harris, and they come into even from the biggest to the smallest streams. And I hate to say this, but Mr. Ham, Raimi, Elmer, I let you have all that, because this is the arena, man. The arena, like, I let people talk, they talk, but when they make personal attacks on me, and I'm not going to dwell on it, because I'm just saying it's kind of disrespectful. So you forced me to ban you from here, from the channel. That's all. I've done it to MD, I've done it to Yanga, and now I've done it to you. It's like, don't insult me. Don't insult me, okay? Don't make personal attacks. Like I said, we can agree and we can disagree, and you can vote for whoever, because I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. But when you notice that it's not working on me, and then you call me a name like a retard, then I'm going to have to retaliate. So I'm just
I don't want to dwell on that, but if y'all wondering why damn got this guy up out of here, is because he insulted me. I'm like, oh, okay, it's time for you to go, brother. It's time for you to go. Because y'all see, I let him ride out. He was like, Kamala. Oh, Trump lost the debate. And he was doing all that. And I'm like, okay, cool. You're entitled to that. Still gonna vote for Trump. And so because I'm still vote for Trump, I'm a moron or a retard. Well, I'll tell you what, let me ban you from my retarded channel. How about that? Okay. So anywho, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Trump 2024, man. Yo, volunteer for poll working. Man, I'm about to get on this poll watching thing. Y'all do phone banking. Y'all knock on doors. Do what you need to do. We need to get Trump in office because those policies benefit America, and when they benefit America, they benefit us. And like I said, migration is going to be, like I said, we got to close that border. Trump's going to do that. The war in Ukraine needs to end. Trump's going to do that. Trump repeated all his policies all during the debate, and Kamala did not mention a single one. That's suspect, but people, a lot of times they're razzled and dazzled by the 3-card money. If y'all know what the 3-card money is in New York, you take the walnut shells or the card game and do a lot of tricks and all that. And, a lot of that was done with a lot of smoke and mirrors. But again, I'm listening for policies, but I already knew there were not going to be any policies because they were going to play the 3-card money game. So with that being said, y'all, thank y'all for the likes. Y'all go subscribe to Barry's channel, man, because I love how he breaks stuff down. Like Barry, that is a wise man right there. So Barry Cunningham, Barry Cunningham, y'all just type it in, it'll pop right up, man. He's a big YouTuber, man. And like I said, subscribe to his channel, man, because he's like me, man. He sees right through the bullshit, man. You cannot get nothing past Gary. And I'm going to tell you, y'all can't get nothing past me, but let me tell you, this dude is really, shout out to Barry. Nothing get past this guy. And he be catching stuff that I think I be catching. He catches it. He catches it all. So again, but we both peeped the damn rehearsal. We both peeped the rehearsal. So again, y'all, shout out to everybody, man. With that being said, I got to get up in the morning. So let me take a shower. And with that being said, man, we out, y'all. Peace. Trump 2024, y'all.